This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to the podcast. My name is JR. This is Daddy Discussions with the Three J's. Of course, I couldn't do it without the other 2/3 of the Three J's. So here they are, Jeff and Josh. How are you guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
Pretty good.
Josh, good. Glad you guys are good. Well, it's beginning of the year. The holidays are finally behind us, and we're focusing on 2023. Guys, are you big resolution guys? Or do you have any resolutions you made for 2023? No, Jeff?
No, I'm not a resolutions guy.
What about you, Josh?
Man, I feel like I probably had some business-minded goals that I wanted to hit this year, and then I kind of was like, dude, I got to spend more time with my kids and try to be a better dad, better husband.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But no big, like, I want to be 180 and ripped or nothing like that. I wish I did. Not that ambitious, I guess.
Thanks for ruining it for everybody else, Josh.
Sorry.
Oh. Well, that is great to hear. At least one of us has some resolutions. I don't think the other two of us did, but anyway, so 1 out of 3 is not bad. So that then leads us into today's topics. Man, it's going to be an interesting one. Today's topic is all about the in-laws, or you could call them grandparents, but we're going for this podcast perspective. We're going to talk about in-laws. I feel like just saying the word, there should be like the Darth Vader theme, the don 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 don
Dun, dun, dun.
going on in the background. Maybe we'll have to add that when we get a little bit bigger, the little sound effects or whatever. Is there a sound effects guy? Anybody got sound effects? No, I don't have one either. All right, anyway.
Fancy Mike doesn't do that.
I don't know. Maybe I just
Play around with that thing, man.
everybody's watching on. I got a new microphone here.
I like it.
Maybe it'll make me sound like Barry White or something. I don't know.
Josh and I are still living in the Stone Age.
Hey, I'm using my computer speakers here, so if I can't hear you, that's I'm only halfway there. So anyway, well, I think it's only fitting to start this amazing topic where we always start, and that's kind of in the Bible here. I think it's a good place to start. You guys cool with that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, throughout the Bible, it talks quite a bit about, grandparents and in-laws, and this one begot this one, and that one begot this one, and this one begot that one, and all kind of begots. I don't know how many people's in-laws are called begots, but apparently in the Bible, there's a bunch of them. So, but in Genesis 2:24, there's an interesting Bible verse that says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." This Bible verse is used quite a bit in the marriage realm. A lot of times you hear this Bible verse used at just about every marriage I've ever been to. But I think it's a good Bible verse to kind of lead into the discussion today, because it's not saying that we should just walk away from our parents or have our spouses walk away from their parents. It means that we're walking away from that center of a family and starting our own. Is basically what it's talking about. This Bible verse is mentioned also again in Matthew when Jesus is talking about marriage as well. Now, again, there's quite a few different in-laws in the Bible, and again, this one begot that one, and all the things, and the grandparents and all the things. We're not going to per se dive into a particular example of a in-law or a grandparent. Maybe we do, I don't know, but that's not really kind of where we're starting to lead this podcast. But I think for the purpose of this one, we're just going to talk about how we live and work and manage our lives around our in-laws. And love them or hate them, in-laws and or grandparents are extremely important to the marriage and realistically to the parenting relationship. I mean, how many of you have seen that, that whole saying that your grandparents spoils them and gives them all the candy, then hands them back to us, and we're supposed to take them home and somehow put them to sleep at night, right?
Yep.
It can be challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you guys think about that? Jeff, Josh?
My parents are the worst at it.
Really?
My mom is always spoiling them a little too much when they come to visit or they go out there. But I'm the only child of hers that's giving her grandkids. So I just kind of put up with it and let it be.
Oh, you are the poster child, is what you are. Okay. The very important in-law. You brought the grandchildren into their world. Right, cool.
Yeah.
Josh, what about you?
Same. I mean, grandma comes in town and it's, we're going to Wally World, pick out some toys. Let's go get some ice cream. And then, all right, mom and dad, hand them back off to y'all. So
is it just me, or is the in-laws, if you think about like my parents, right? All the things we couldn't do or weren't allowed to do, right? Now all of a sudden they get grandkids and they allow them to just, go color on the walls and, break windows and all. I mean, all the stuff that, we would have been beaten with a stick, pun intended. But, I mean, it's just crazy. But anyway, like we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. But I think the most important piece of this is for us being dads. It's kind of cliche, but it's very much true. Without these people, we would not have our spouses. I mean, there's the whole physical part of not having our spouses, but also realistically, they laid the groundwork for them as who they are as people, what they feel, how they act, the surrounding and or culture that they grew up in that we fell in love with. I mean, that's the reason why we have spouses. So again, whether you like them, love them, hate them, or anything in between there, they're extremely important. And, I think that in today's discussions, that leads to a lot of great questions. And I want to start off the question to you guys, and any one of you can jump in. The question, I think it's safe to say that the father of the bride is, tears up when the little girl walks down the aisle and they see him in the dress for the first time, all the things. Did you guys do the traditional thing of going and ask the dad's permission in marriage and waiting and hoping and praying that they say yes? Tell us the story. Somebody jump in and tell the story.
I did. And preface. So Sarah and I started dating in January. We got engaged in April and we were married in July.
Wow.
So
shotgun wedding. There you go.
Yeah. So me and him went out to I took him out to breakfast / he took me out to breakfast, but we went out to breakfast and oh man, I probably didn't even touch my food. I was so nervous. And so we're sitting there just having conversation and I'm like trying to how when you have an important conversation and you're just waiting for the right moment to interject that important conversation. Oh, yeah. Well, the right moment never came. And so never, not once. And,
no icebreaker there, huh? You just started jumping on in there. All right, good.
None. So we finish eating and he looks at me and goes, so are you going to ask me something important or... So that made it even worse. So I finally my palms are getting sweaty just retelling the story. But this man in a restaurant, hands me a shotgun shell and a Sharpie and says, write your name on it. Because if you break my daughter's heart, I got a bullet with your name on it.
Wow.
I was like,
I like this guy. That's
okay,
awesome.
Okay, I'll write it.
That's really impressive. I'm going to use that. I got two, my two girls.
Oh, I plan on using it for all three of my daughters. I plan on.
Well, let me ask you a question before we jump to Josh. How was your relationship before that conversation with him, and then how is it now? Just very brief on how it is now, because we've got a question maybe later on that's going to dive into a bit more. But just how is it before then?
Me and him have always gotten along. It wasn't. I was actually more afraid of Sarah's mom than I was her dad.
Oh, wow.
Her mom is a little 5'6", terrifying old lady. It's just super intimidating. That's awesome. And her dad's 6'5", big old goofy guy. Me and him got along and still do get along. So, but yeah, no, it was good, cordial.
Josh, what about you, buddy? Tell us this wonderful story.
Man, probably the complete opposite of Jeff's story. Tabitha's dad's kind of been out of the picture. She probably talks to him once a year. So
Oh, wow.
growing up, Tabitha and I were actually, friends in middle school, high school, and then we kind of went our separate ways and got back together. But I always had a relationship with her mom, so I felt like I owed her mom at least that respect, and so I did reach out to her mom. But yeah, we did the run away to the courthouse in Knoxville, Tennessee, and get married. So
Wow.
it wasn't a whole lot of family involved, and we hope to do something big with family one day, maybe for 10 years or something. But yeah, it wasn't the traditional take your future father-in-law out to breakfast and
Well, let's look at it from the mother-in-law perspective. So you said you had a great relationship with her before. How much has that grown since then?
oh man, she's like mom to me now. I mean,
Really?
she kind of was growing up. Was always kind of a friend of the family. Tabitha and I were never, involved in a relationship growing up, but I think there was always something there, but never really pursued it just because how close our families were. But yeah, I mean, I have a great relationship with Tabitha's mom now, and her dad comes up maybe once a year to visit us. So,
Well, I think my situation is even different than y'all's too. I mean, obviously, everybody's story is different. Everybody's story is same in a lot of ways, but different in a lot of ways too. I mean, you guys know I grew up here, and we're all three in the Nashville area, born and raised here, and my wife's from Northwest Iowa. I mean, you're basically an hour away from South Dakota. I mean, it's way up there. And so I mean, for me and her to even be together it's a God moment, right? She sit down next to me in a hockey game, and the rest is history. But her parents are just, I mean, they're just rock stars. They're amazing. They're farmers, hardworking, amazing people. If you looked at the example of our the cliche of what the model American would be, her parents are that. I mean, they're amazing people. And I think because of that, and also the fact that she's 10 years younger than me, there was a nervousness from me just because, who's this guy from Nashville? That's this old guy from Nashville that's coming in and taking baby girl away, right? I mean, who's this guy from Nashville coming in, not only taking baby girl away, but moving him halfway across the country? Like, who is this dude, right? So, so obviously building a relationship with them were vital, but even more so, obviously her father, hardworking farmer, two brothers, also farmers, hardworking. I'm just a lighting guy. I'm just traveling the country at the time selling lights. I mean, I know what hard work was for them, if I'm being honest, so I'm going to go and ask this guy for his approval for marriage of his daughter. And I'm sure thinking, this guy probably thinks I'm just a, worthless whatever that just travels the country and plays golf all the time. I'm too scared to get out there and
drive a tractor before.
Exactly. I'm just not that guy, right? But anyway, so they have a lake house about an hour and 10 minutes north of where they live, but kind of northeast back towards Minnesota. And beautiful lake. And we went up there for kind of holiday area of the town, holiday time. And we were staying, it's a 2-story kind of almost like a split level, but not really. Anyway, she's staying downstairs, obviously. I'm staying upstairs in the bedroom, and we've been dating for a year or so, and I think this is gonna be perfect. We're at the lake house. It's just just the four of us, and I mean, I'll wait to her dad kind of stays up later, and gets up early kind of thing, and I'll wait till all the girls go to sleep, and a perfect time. And I'm sitting there thinking, goodness gracious, will my wife and her mother-in-law her mother go to sleep? I mean, it's like 11 o'clock. You people go to sleep. Come on. I need to ask a question here. By the time they finally went to sleep, I'm like, so tired. I got to bust up the courage. So I, start talking, and start diving into business because that's kind of my thing, and that's was an easy way to break the ice with him because we talk a lot of business stuff. And finally, I popped the question, hey, what would you feel about if I asked you for your permission to marry your daughter? And he looks at me and goes, well, what would you do if I said no? I'm like, how do I react to this now? I just looked at him and said, well, I'll be honest with you, I'm just going to keep asking you till you say yes. I mean, eventually I'm going to either antagonize you enough where you're going to get mad and you'll say yes, or just because you're pissed off at me, or PO, excuse me, for all the young ears out there. Or eventually, you're just going to go to sleep and wake up next morning and tell my girlfriend at the time to, this guy's a loser, leave him alone, So, but I'm going to keep on asking you to say yes. It's just going to happen, And he starts laughing. He goes, yeah, you're good. I'm like, all right, cool. Finally, thank you. We can go to sleep now. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot to it. So kind of that leads into, we've already kind of a little bit of the question, but let's dive into a little bit deeper. How would you say your relationship with the in-laws are today? I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but I mean, would you say it's obviously, we hope that it's gotten stronger in love and all the things, but let's dive into what would you really say is, obviously Josh with mother-in-law and Jeff with the whole family, like how deep is that love now comparatively to what it was when you first asked the question?
I think it's definitely grown. We talk to her parents more than we do mine. And I think there's a few factors that play to that. One, Sarah, throughout her 9 years of motherhood, shout out to my oldest, happy birthday on Friday. And so, she talks to her mom a lot through motherhood questions and just life and all the things. So, we just naturally talk to them more than my parents. And they're closer. My parents are in California and hers are in Texas. So they're closer. It's easy for them to visit and easier for us to visit and cheaper. Because plane tickets to California for 5 people is like over $3,000. It's crazy. Yeah. So just the natural way of us being in contact with them more, that relationship has built up more than it was when I popped the question years ago.
Josh?
I mean, same for me. We're definitely closer with Tab's mom and her mom's husband. They have call it a farm or ranch in Rossville, Tennessee, with horses. And I find myself now trying to do not chores or, favors for them, but definitely show my appreciation to her mom for raising the woman that she did. Because like you said earlier, I mean, I wouldn't be married to the girl I am now if it wasn't for her mom and her dad and all the hard work and sweat equity that they put into her, raising her as a kid. So yeah, I mean, definitely try to show my appreciation to her mom for sure, as much as I can.
It's amazing. Yeah. I think, again, likewise, I think it was kind of a eye-opening moment when kids came involved. I mean, I knew that, or you hope that that your in-laws really love you and respect you after marriage of a couple of years, right? Whenever kids come into play and just seeing how deep they love on your kids, you can kind of feel where the love that mothers come from, right? So and then obviously again my in-laws live so far away, and like y'all's too. I mean, whenever they come into town or whenever we go there, just to hear them say, hey, I love you, and be safe, and they really actually care about me too, not just the kids and the wife. I mean, it means a lot. So This is going to be an interesting question. It ties into the first two. Would you say, and it's kind of a deep question, so let's dive in here, all right? Would you say, now that you've been married to your wife as long as you have and kids are involved, if you were to give your in-laws truth serum, right? We're going to play the what if game for a second. Would they say that you are the man that they dreamed that their little girl would marry? Now you hope, I mean, the cliche answer would be yes, but let's dive into that question. Let's just kind of dive in a little bit and see where the road leads. Josh, let's go with you this time first.
I mean, this is a hard one because I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I mean, my mother-in-law has told me that she's proud of me and she's appreciative of the man that I am and, how I treat her daughter and how I'm raising her grandkids. So, yeah, I think hearing comments like that almost give me something, not that I don't have, a wife and kids and God to live up to, but, to have a mother-in-law that I know expects a lot out of me, it's almost kind of keeps me in check. Like, she's going to tell me when I'm messing up and she's going to tell me when I'm doing good. So I think if I asked her point blank, she would say, I am the man that she always hoped Tabitha would marry.
Jeff, what about you, bud?
Yeah, that's like you say, that's a tough question to answer because you don't want to sound cocky or too full of yourself. But kind of along the same lines, like they haven't. My father-in-law is not he's a direct guy, but like when it comes to emotions, he kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but he'll say like, not sly comments, but he'll make, like little comments here and there. He won't like directly say like, hey, I'm so proud and so glad to have you part of it. He'll just be like, you're doing really good with those kids and, like, or, something like that. Or, hey, I've really noticed that like your and Sarah's relationship is growing and your faith is growing and stuff like that. So, kind of along the same lines as Josh though. So just hearing comments like that, like it makes me at least feel like I'm the person they planned for, Yeah,
that's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. I mean, they've actually even said it to me, which I didn't like ask the question to them. They actually just freely gave it to me, which I think is where this question and why, I brought it up to you guys because it's a shock to me. Like you don't expect to hear that. Right. Even though you hope that you can hear it, but still it's kind of a step back moment and kind of have to like catch your breath for a minute. Right. Cause you're doing everything you can do to be the best husband and father you can be. And to get the respect of the spouse's parents, man, it's second to the wife. I mean, as far as being the best you can get. Right. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm going to go off script a little bit and ask this question. And this off script question is a reversal of the question. And what I mean by that is, it just popped in my head while we're sitting here. What would you say your parents think of your wife? We've been talking so far about our wives' parents. Let's flip the script and let's ask a question to ourselves about what our parents would say about our wives. Jeff, what do you think, buddy?
I think my parents would say that she, oh man, words are hard tonight. I've kind of along the same line.
Right? I mean, it is.
Yeah. Kind of along the same lines as like how I feel about her parents towards me. Like I feel like my parents know that we give it our all and we're trying our best to raise our kids right and grow our faith and grow our kids' faith. And, I mean, nobody's perfect, so we make mistakes, but I think my parents are happy with who I'm with. At least I would hope so. They haven't said anything otherwise. So, yeah, I think my parents are, they think highly of her. We kind of balance each other out, which is nice. So,
Josh, what about you, buddy?
I think I talked about this a little bit. I mean, my mom passed away when I was young, around 12 years old. So I still consider my biological parents my parents. My adopted parents were more, I don't know, guardians. Didn't have a really close relationship with them. But I do think about my mom being in heaven, and I think she's just overjoyed to meet Tabitha. Like I think she's just so happy that I found somebody that I'm compatible with, that we're, have the same beliefs, same faith. And so, yeah, I think my mom's very appreciative of the woman that Tabitha is, and just can't wait to meet her one day.
It's awesome. Yeah, I would, again, I think we talked a little bit about my story too. My wife is not my first, but she is my last. And my parents would be the first to jump in and say that she was what I needed. God knew that there was something left that I was missing. And, when you go through a failed marriage, it's just different whenever someone new walks into your life. And I didn't have children with a previous one, thank God. But whenever this marriage came to be, my mom and my dad, my stepmom, all three said that, you finally found the one. Like this is it. Like we knew there was one out there. We just didn't know if you'd ever find it. This is the one. And she just makes me better. They said that many times. They make me better. They make, that circle is complete finally. So they would definitely, they've said it. I mean, so that's, I want to go off script a little bit and ask a question because, it's hard to, to have this discussion only one-sided. So it was good to have conversation to see the other side of it. So now we're going to flip the script on the conversation from a good to a bad conversation question. And what I mean by that is how much or how difficult do the in-laws make marriage and parenting? Now, again, we've already talked about how great of all of our in-laws are. So we're not going to say that they're making marriage difficult, because they're not. It's more of how do they make the question is tied to parenting, and what do they do, or do they do anything that makes parenting difficult? And go, because I'm not going to go first. I'm just kidding.
It's that awkward silence because none of us want to answer.
Nobody wants to go first.
Let me go first. You guys went first. Last couple of them, I will jump in there and say, like my parents don't. And my parents. Let me start with my in-laws. My in-laws, they don't make parenting difficult, and I can say that honestly because, my mom or my mother-in-law and my wife are like best friends. I mean, they're definitely. If you ever ask a question of is Ashley her mom's daughter, there's no doubt about it, because they're exactly like in the best way possible. They're both amazing human beings, and so, they're. In a lot of ways, Ashley's just a younger, Lisa, which is her mom's name. And her father, he's awesome too. And, only way I can answer this question would be back towards my parents. Right. And I would never say anything to down my parents, but, it's just, my parents live closer to us. So, right. So they get the opportunity to see the kids more. Right. So whenever we're with the in-laws, my wife's family, usually we're staying with them, they're staying with us. So they fit into our schedule that we're already doing. Right. So, I mean, like the stay at our house, if we're putting the kids to get to bed at a certain time, it's easy for them to fall under that schedule because they're with us. Right. So my parents differently, they live 10 minutes away. Actually, my dad lives right across the street from you, Josh, or right across the subdivision from where you live. And my mom lives not far from where you live, Jeff. And so saying that, they're within 10, 15 minutes of my house. So, it's not one to say that, hey, we're going to have my kids go and spend the night at my parents' house, because why would I have them spend the night at their house when they live 10 minutes away, right? Just put them in their jacket and shoes and bring them home, put them in their own bed, right? That's a little bit of a struggle, right? Not because we don't want them to stay with my parents. It's easier whenever they're 10 minutes away. Just bring them home, put them in their own bed. They can sleep in their own bed, right? And keep the schedules normal. The difference is, like naps and, food. Obviously, they want to spoil them like any grandparent would be. So, food is one thing that we have to, okay, we're doing this schedule where they eat this stuff at this time, and snacks and lunches and all that kind of stuff. It's not that they make things difficult. It's just they're not used to our schedules, right? And Josh, from both of our kids going to the same daycare, there's a structure, right? And what they eat and how they do snacks and all those things. So that would be the challenge, right? And I think the second part of that answer would be that obviously I'm older than you guys. When I grew up, I would go to I lived a lot with my dad's parents. I grew up with them because my dad was always traveling. My mom was working multiple jobs, put me through private school. So I stayed a lot with them a lot. So I think it's been a little bit of a struggle when I have kids, that there's kind of a built-in assumption that it's going to be a lot of the same that it was when I grew up. And it's just a different world. It's just different time, different things are happening, different ways we raise our kids. I think that's been a little bit of a challenge. So to answer the question, that would be what's making it, I don't know if I would use the word difficult, just different than the way we're raising the kids, so that's where the walls are hitting sometimes. That makes sense. You guys feel any of the same thing with your parents at all? In-laws?
I think one of the difficulties we have is not having our family close. Because it adds added, not stress, but like added difficulty for, like, we haven't gone to a marriage retreat at our church since we've gone to church, because we don't have anyone to watch the kids for the weekend, right?
That's true.
Because what young babysitter wants to spend a whole weekend with kids, you know what I mean? Where if grandparents were here, it'd be a little bit easier for us to sneak away for the weekend. And that's for both sides, right? Her parents and my parents, because they both live out of state. And I think I'd have to agree with you, JR, about the whole just raising. I was raised differently than I'm raising my kids, and not to say that I was raised bad and I want my kids to be raised differently. It's just,
I totally agree with you. Not that there's anything wrong with them.
Yeah,
it's just different.
Yeah. There's different things happening in the world with the amount of technology the kids have, and the added stresses of what's being taught in school and what's, what my kids see. And, we try very hard to guard our kids' minds, just so they're young and there's certain things that they don't need to see. Right. So, I think that would be my two difficulties, just the distance, not having them close. And then, like you say, just the different times of raising kids, right? Because you can't raise kids the way that I was raised back in early 90s, the 1900s.
You're so young. Josh, about you, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, again, mom passed away and dad's out of the picture, but adopted parents aren't really, they're just not in a place where I would feel comfortable leaving my kids with, even for an afternoon when we do go in town. And then my in-laws, they have horses, and Tabitha's stepdad has COPD. So I don't think they're making things more difficult. Maybe if they were more available, it would be beneficial. But again, with the schedule thing, man, it's like we go in town and they want to do breakfast at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, yeah, we've already done breakfast. Like we're halfway through the daily activities, and so they definitely throw a loop in things. They came in town well, they kind of dropped the bomb on us. They were coming in town for Tabitha's birthday weekend, and it's Tabitha turned 40. Shh, won't tell anybody.
Happy birthday.
Had a big birthday weekend planned for her. We were going to go downtown, stay at the Dream Hotel, and her mom texts us and says she's coming in town. So
Wow.
kind of put those plans on the back burner, but spent the Saturday morning at the VA because her stepdad forgot his medicine. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an added stress having the in-laws involved, but I think it's important that the kids experience the time they can with their grandparents. So you take on that stress in
I mean,
a positive way as you can.
You gotta let them have their time with the grandparents. I mean, that's vital. But it's just, it's everybody's different, and you guys have said it. I've said it. If I take them to my parents, there's a way that they live their lives. I take them to their wives' parents, that's the way that they live their lives. I take them to my mom's parents, the way that she lives her life. So there's going to be a adjustment because that's all three of those things are
I
different.
think it's more getting us out of our comfort zone than it is the kids.
Yep.
I mean, the kids are fine with, being on grandma time, but
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the kids.
And
the
that,
kids
none
don't-
of that's to say anything negative. It's just different. And
yeah.
I probably should have revised the question and not say that making life difficult, because there's nothing difficult about it. It's just different, right? So,
Yeah.
And I love the fact that all three of us have in-laws in different places with different factors. I mean, obviously, we all grew up, in our own struggles and our own happinesses and things, but it's just drastically different. So it's amazing to hear, Josh, your amazing story about, being adopted, and Jeff, your story about, coming from Southern California to Nashville. That all those things are just amazing. And but somehow all three of us got to the same church, and we're here on this podcast, and all of our kids love each other, and they're, they're at love and life. And it's just amazing how God works. But
Yeah.
so, I would, that then, talking about God and how great he is and how great he's blessed us. And, we all have great parents and great in-laws and great grandparents, and they're all amazing people. Because they are amazing people, then how do we as fathers and husbands to our amazing wives show value to these in-laws that mean so much to us, right? So, I mean, these are these people in all their human nature are the reason why we have such amazing wives, which then are also the reason why we have such amazing kids, right? So how do we show value to them? How do you guys show value to your in-laws? Josh, you want to go first this time?
I mean, for me, I think we've done the love language test and all that stuff. I think the best way I can show value to my in-laws is just having a servant's heart. I kind of try to let go as much as I can with my kids. Still try to be that, father figure, even when we're around the in-laws, but just kind of let them do their thing with the kids. And hey, what do you need done around the house? Or if they're here, let me make lunch for you, or just kind of show my gratitude towards them.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way I've figured out how to show them that I appreciate them and the role they play in my kids' life.
Jeff, what about you, buddy?
Ironically, it's kind of the same thing. I have never said it out loud to anyone on her side of the family, but I always make it a point when we go visit her parents and because her sister lives out in Texas too. So whenever we go visit her side of the family, I always make sure that she and the kids have the most time with her parents, right? So I'll follow the kids around the house and make sure that everything's cleaned up, and I'll, do the dishes after dinner so they can all just go spend time with one another and, just be that helping hand around the house and around, wherever we're hanging out, just so that way they can spend the quality time together in the short amount of time whenever we go to visit. It's usually for like a weekend, so it's not a lot of time. So I try to make sure that they have the most time together as possible, and just kind of do stuff like that.
So it's interesting you say that, because I try to do the same thing, right? So as you guys know, this next week, my oldest turns 5. Not this weekend, coming up the next weekend, and we're having her parents come into town. Yeah, exactly. 5. Amazing. Blows me away. It's like we're about to start kindergarten. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
So
Next,
her
next
parents are
thing
coming into
you wonder,
I'm sorry? What'd you say, Jeff?
I was just saying, next you'll think double digits.
I think we might be losing you, buddy. All right. I think I know what you're saying, but yeah. So I mean, like I said, like you were saying, you hit it really well when you said try to do things to give them more time. When they come in, I always try to do dishes and take their luggage up, and anything I can do to give them that extra time. Like whenever they're when I go to their house, I honestly kind of stay out of the way. I'll just go kind of out of the
just do your own thing.
Right. I mean, it's. I don't want to do anything to mess it up, right? Her like I said, her parents or her dad and her brothers are farmers, right? So they're limited on their time that they're going to get anyway when we're there, because they got to go, feed the cows and all the things that go along with farming that take the normal daily schedule away anyway. So if I'm going to do something that can hinder that time, I want to take it out of the equation, and most time that is just me getting out of the way, right? So I kind of do the same thing, and Jeff, you hit it nail on the head. I mean, it's you don't get a lot of time. I think we see them maybe if we're on a good year 4 times a year, but mostly it's 2 or 3 times. Last year I think I saw her father once maybe, and that was for Christmas. Both times they came to our house. Her mother did, but her dad was in harvest, and all the the farming schedule couldn't allow him to come. So those kind of things. When we go there, I'm just trying to what can I do to get out of the way, and I think like you said, Josh, it's like, what can I do to help? What can I do to give you guys as much time as possible. So I love how you both said that. That's really, really well said. In all this, how do we show respect and how do we show honor, and all those verbiages about our in-laws and what they mean to us. I think it leads me to another Bible verse, kind of will be the start of the conclusion of this discussion. Is Ephesians 4:2 says, "Be always humble, gentle, patient. Show your love by being tolerant with one another." And again, whether it be my parents, my wife's parents, or any of y'all's parents and your wife's parents, the bottom line is we're all different people. So we got to find a way to honor each other, but also understand that I'm married to her daughter. They're gonna have to deal with me the rest of their lives, whether they like it or not, and obviously love her parents. So it's not dealing with anything, but I just say that in jokingly manner. But it's being humble and kind should always outrank any kind of skills that you have, right? That's
good.
And I think that anybody that has a character level or skill level, a certain level, they're going to hit walls if they don't have a humble nature that oversees that. And any way we can show honor and grace to the parents that made our wives who they are, it's what it's leading to, right? So guys, as we close this thing up, you guys want to add anything else before we jump into the conclusion here? Jeff, Josh?
I like what you said about being humble and kind. I think that's really important. You can always do stuff to help out, but man, if you can just show your in-laws that you appreciate them and you're humble, I think that goes a long way.
Jeff, what about you, buddy?
No, I'm good. with that.
I think we're struggling with cutting out a little bit there.
Jeff's got a bad connection.
I think he does.
Maybe Jeff's bedtime.
I think he's just, he's so verklempt about his in-laws. It's hard for him to talk. I get it. I understand. It's okay, Jeff. It's okay, buddy. I see the tears.
He's thinking about that shotgun show.
Yeah, that's what it is. That shotgun shell's got him all messed up in the head. Well, anyway, man, this is another awesome episode. I think it just keeps getting better. I think learning so much from you guys and how great fathers you are and great husbands you are to your wives. And it's an honor to do this podcast with you guys. And for everyone out there listening, we say a lot, but we always want to just remind you that our purpose is simple. We talk here on this podcast because we love our families, we love our wives, we love our kids. And that's what this Daddy Discussions podcast is really all about. We hope that someone out there listening can, use our message for their success, and take something that we may have struggled with and hopefully turn it for positive in their own situation. If you like the podcast you're listening to today, go on either amazing places you can find this podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. You can also email us at daddydiscussionspodcast@gmail.com with any questions. You got any topic ideas for future episodes, reach out to us. We want to hear from you. We want to grow this thing. We want to, hopefully bring on some guests in the future. And we just appreciate you listening to us. So guys, I guess that'll be the end of it here. Appreciate you guys as always. Love you guys. Love your families. Until the next one.